Greetings and salutations, Brian here at TheBaseTriathlon.com, and we're making this video because we're going to talk about Ironman Alaska, the inaugural Ironman Alaska, Juneau, Alaska, and we're going to be talking about the bike course. I've done videos on the swim course, doing the bike course, and we'll talk about the run course later. So we want to dive right in there and jump in the course. Now, I live in Kansas City. I do have athletes doing the race, and I've created plans for athletes doing the race. So I've done a little bit of recon on the event and the venue, but I don't live there in person. I've gleaned information from the Facebook pages and what's going on. People have ridden the course and all that kind of fun stuff. You know, I've ridden on Ruby and looked at fuel gas and all that kind of fun stuff. So some information you kind of gather and glean from that, but until you get out there, it's going to be completely unknown. So afterwards, maybe we do a little bit of follow-up to this video and talk a little bit more about the course and people, the roads were horrible, or it was perfect, I loved it, or whatever the case may be. Maybe we'll go back and do a little bit of modification for it. But August 7th, 2022, inaugural Ironman Alaska. Let's talk about the bike course. So if we look at the overall course, and I like to download the PDFs just so I have them. So we have the bike course. So a 2-loop course. So you got to be careful on this one. Make sure you don't go into transition after you get done with your first loop. Make sure you hit the U-turn. Should be fairly obvious. So I kind of mentioned this in the swim. You know, if you look at the race day conditions, average air temperature 68 degrees, water temperature 65. So the water's actually cold in the air. Hopefully, on race morning, it could be in the 40s, could be in the 30s. Lake Tahoe 2013, it was freezing, and the water's in the 60s. You come out and you're freezing to death trying to get your wetsuit off. It's eye-opening, and it's a stark contrast from Ironman Des Moines when it was 100-degree heat index on the run. So just be prepared for that. I say that when you're on the bike course, I would definitely bring warm weather gear that you're okay with ditching at an aid station. So maybe tube socks for arm warmers, cut some holes in them. You're okay with chucking them in an aid station later. Get an old cycling jacket. You're okay with throwing in an aid station, some gloves or something like that. You know, I would hesitate at anything, long pants or anything like that for the bike, because if it does get to the 68, 70 degrees or something like that, it get pretty warm out there, especially for 112 miles. Especially this course is going to take a little bit of energy. I would kind of hesitate, you know, maybe some tube socks to pull up high, and as you get into it and you start cooling down, you can push them down low or just dish them in an aid station or something like that. So definitely bring warm weather gear and pack it with you. And if you don't need it, you don't need it, but you have it if you need it. You know, you're not scrambling at the last minute looking for warm weather gear, because I think you're going to need it coming out of the water. Now, they advertise the bike is rolling, and we're going to look at elevation profiles. So basically, it's a 2-loop course. So you're all along this glacier highway, basically, and you come out, do 1 loop, personal needs bag, and then come out and do another loop. So it looks like that you'll have the availability of 2 times you can get personal needs. Once you get there, you cannot get it again. So if you get on the first loop, you're done. You can't get it again. So it looks a mile, 70, 90 or so. Let's see. I have it exactly. Personal needs. Sometimes it might be in the athlete guide exactly what mile it's at for personal needs, but basically you're looking at 30, 40, 50, so maybe, you know, 48 mile or something like that. So you get access to your personal needs, or you can come back, perhaps have access to it on the second beginning loop. So you're a little bit closer to 60, you know, the halfway point. So just make sure you time that personal needs, special needs bag stop appropriately for your pit stop you need for any personal needs that you put in there, especially considering this is a 2-loop course, so that's kind of unique that you have access to your personal needs more than once. You actually have access to it like 4 different times, depending on if they're going to let you have access on both sides of the road. So it may only be on one side of the road, so make sure, later I may go through the athlete guide and I'll probably spell out exactly where that person needs back on the bike, but just looking at the map, this is kind of where we're at. But like I said, I would definitely wear warm weather gear. So at the aid stations, you can start ditching your stuff if you need to, if you start warming up. But basically, you're going to get to know Glacier Highway pretty well. So just make sure you're aware of that. I've heard there's some sections that are questionable. Now, consider this is Alaska, so the weather. I mean, if you lived up north in Minnesota, Iowa, and other places that get snow, freezing weather. Freeze-thaw cycles play havoc on roads. So more than likely, I would expect the roads to not be perfectly pristine. I've heard that they've tried to fix some sections. That's generally typical of some Ironman races. But just be prepared that the roads could be not exactly as friendly as possible. Say like a Ironman Tulsa, or well, I won't say Tulsa wasn't exactly friendly either. But like Ironman Des Moines, I did that earlier this year in 22, and the roads were pretty good. About 80-85% of them were pretty good condition and didn't have any problems. So I'd say just be prepared that there could be, you might just a minor bit deflate the tires a little bit, take a little bit of that absorption. I definitely would go through and do a little bit of recon on the road. Just be aware that there are certain sections you cannot be a pedestrian or bike riding on, so you're probably going to have to do with your car only. But I would definitely do a little bit of recon just to see what the roads are looking like and see if you need to maybe take down the pressure in your tires a little bit so you don't feel every nook and cranny in that road. So I haven't seen too much chatter on the Facebook pages that it's too bad or anything like that. But yeah, I would definitely go check it out. And once the race happens, then we'll get a lot more recon on how the roads were. So we'll see about that. So turn-by-turn directions. So this is going to be important. 5,800 feet of gain. That is pretty similar to Ironman Des Moines this year that I did in 22. Basically, it says rolling hills, but some of these climbs look pretty steep. So basically you're up, down, up, down, up, down, up, down, up, down. There's really not many situations where you're going to be in a straight arrow position, but I definitely did a video on that talking about I would definitely, if you have a tri bike and a road bike and you're set up on the tri bike, bring the tri bike. Because on the downhills, you're definitely going to want that to be able in the arrow position to get as much speed as possible going down these hills. So I definitely would not tri bike home, but I would definitely make sure the gearing is appropriate for rolling hills because there's going to be a lot of climbing. 5,800 feet is nothing to laugh at. But overall, there's no overall up or down trend. So you're basically flat minus going over the hills. So you'll see that sometimes, and of course, there's a general tendency for the total elevation to be up or elevation to be down. But this one, you're basically at 100 feet the entire time. You're circling around, you're climbing, coming back down to it every time, basically. So there really is no overall arching up as far as the elevation goes. But you're going to need to be ready for climbing. So hopefully you've been doing your climbing and your training. And all my athletes and the people who have done my plans, I put in tons of hill work, tons of power work on the bike because you want to be ready for that because it's going to take everything you got out there. But definitely, if it does reach in the 70s, hydration is going to be key. Nutrition is going to be key. I definitely bring sunglasses or something if it does get sunny out there. You definitely don't want to be out there just staring in the sun all day, especially as you're going up and down this highway. You're going to be heading kind of northwest to come out, but then you're heading southeast. So in the morning, in the afternoon, it's going to be full sun out there, so you definitely want some shade. But I would definitely be as aero as possible. Helmet, tri bike if you got it, deep wheels, disc wheels. If you got them, might as well use them. But at the end of the day, I think if you're limited on the cassettes that you could use, if you can't use a cassette that's more geared for climbing situations, because of your disc wheel, then I would bring a wheel that you have a cassette access to more climbing gears than not. So you can bring a disc wheel. I don't think, I haven't seen much talk about like wind gusts or anything like that. They don't really say much about wind or anything, but more than likely here on the Glacier Highway, you're going to be exposed here on the channel side, but then on the land side, if you look at all the pictures, you're going to have pretty much vegetation, mountains, all kind of fun stuff. So really haven't seen much people talking about the wind situation. Later I may do a video we'll talk about the weather and the climate conditions, but personally, especially with travel, bringing a disc wheel becomes a little bit more cumbersome. So I would maybe look at a 808 or something like that if you got it. I don't think deep dish wheels, race wheels, are going to make or break you out there, but I think it's definitely going to help when you're going down those hills to be as aero as possible. So if you got some deep wheels, some 60-80 setups, as long as you got a good cassette on there for some climbing, I think you're in a good situation. And bring your tri bike if you got it, aero helmet, and just be as aero as possible. Like I said, I think the key is also going to be making sure you've got warm weather gear so when you get out there, your teeth aren't chattering. Now, if it's raining or something like that, look at the weather forecast. I mean, something altogether totally different. So if it's raining in the 50s, you want to be as warm as possible. But if it's not raining and it does hold true, it's in the 70s, low 70s and that'd be perfect cycling weather. But just make sure you're ready for the morning portion of that, and you're not like getting hypothermic before it actually warms up and gets ready for the total ride. So that is my recommendations. I don't want to drone on too much about this. So just looking at the map, I think you have your work cut out for you. This is not going to be the most straightforward of courses. There's going to be a lot of climbing on there. I don't think there's going to be opportunities for much gains momentum. But I would definitely look at the rolling hill situation. I've done plenty of videos on how to attack rolling hills. Just keep that momentum going, and hopefully you've been training them up into this point, because the time of this video, you got a couple weeks left, but your time is running out to be ready for those hills. But make sure your bike setup is ready for those hills. So 112 miles, 2 loops, Juneau, Alaska. I'm looking forward to seeing everybody's race reports and see how it actually pans out. So I'm going to wrap it up. Again, if you're seeing the video, Facebook, leave a comment, like. I've seen on YouTube, comment. If you had anything you thought was great, put a comment there, give it a like. If you didn't like it, give it a thumbs down. But please put a comment there why you didn't like it. Hit subscribe, hit the notification button, see future videos, and watch the swim video, watch a run video, and any other videos I put out for Ironman Alaska or any other events or tips in general I do for triathlons. So hopefully this helped you out. And with that, I want to wrap it up, and we'll see you in the next video.